From Demon Souls to Elden Ring, maidens play major roles in Souls games. Let's check out their evolution. In 2009, the first Souls game, Demon Souls, was released, and with it, the first maidens. The Maiden in Black is the first character the player meets, and the most important of all. Barefoot, in black wrappings, cloaked, short black hair and eyes covered with wax. With her long lamp-lit staff, she keeps the candles lit in the central area known as the Nexus, to which she is bound. She also helps the demon slayers trapped there by channeling the souls collected by them to increase their attributes. She is, in fact, a most powerful demon of old. She has great influence over the primordial demon, the Old One, that scourged the world and was imprisoned in the Nexus. The player can either help her lull the Old One back to slumber, which brings salvation to the world, or kill her and become its new soul-starving demon, which spells doom for the world. There is another maiden in the game, a saint who set out on a pilgrimage to a forsaken place of plague to help its inhabitants. However, her pure spirit was corrupted and she started feeding on their souls instead of saving them. She became one of the archdemons the player must defeat, in a blood-stained white nun's habit. Blonde and fair, Maiden Astraea alleviates the suffering of moribunds and the ill who in turn worship her and give her the souls of those who die in the valley. A human bodyguard fights on her behalf. If not attacked, she willingly hands over her soul to the player by killing herself. In 2011, Dark Souls 1 was released with even more maidens this time. The Archmaiden Anastasia Vostora is a maimed blonde woman who wears a dingy attire. Her skirt is stained with blood. Her tongue was removed for blasphemy, and perhaps she may have been further disabled to prevent her escape. Imprisoned in her cell, never to live till the undead curse put by the gods upon mankind is lifted. In the Firelink Shrine, the hub, she does her duties as a firekeeper, woman who is the physical manifestation of the bonfire, whose flames she keeps burning. The bonfires serve mainly as checkpoints, weapon points, item storage, and the only means of leveling up and refilling your healing flask. If a firekeeper dies, her bonfire extinguishes. The second and last duty is to enhance the capabilities of the player's flask by consuming a firekeeper's soul. Ironic, is it not? Depending on the player's actions, her tongue can be restored, but that requires her blood to be spilt. There are two other firekeepers in this game. The Fair Lady, pale, deformed, blind, sick, dying, bound to a bonfire to extend her life. Demonhood befell her family after her mother, the Witch of Izalith, failed to recreate the first flame. Then her sister, Quelag, and she found refuge in Blighttown, where she tried to help its afflicted inhabitants by swallowing their blight pus. As a result, she ended up in this terrible condition. The player can help her by joining the Chaos Servant Covenant, which was created to mitigate her pain by offering humanities fragments of the dark soul, human's dark spirit. Without them, she will die. She speaks in a mysterious language that can only be understood if the player wears a special ring. The last firekeeper is the skillful Lady of the Darkling who, after being afflicted by the undead curse, became the Darkmoon Knightess, the firekeeper of Anor Londo, city of the gods, founded by Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. She hides her hideous form in this brass armor set, however I don't find her ugly at all. If the player violates the Darkmoon Tomb or breaks the Order of Anor Londo, she becomes hostile. Should the player avoid such actions, she will pass her days by the bonfire, leaning on the wall peacefully. An honorable maiden sent on pilgrimage to carry out a deadly mission for which she was never ready. This is Rhea of Thorland, a pure, frail cleric in formal attire, escorted by two bodyguards who cannot even defend her from themselves. Secretly envied by a certain compatriot, such parlous, clear-eyed beauty will need the player's help to prevent her demise. Curiously, should the player save her and by all her miracles, she will go hollow and meet her ruin in Anuri prison. I forgot to mention she is from a distinguished family and thus highly educated. She even speaks Latin.
Varianox.
Learn more about it in this video of mine. In 2014, Dark Souls 2 came out with only one maiden. Or were there more? The player first meets three old firekeepers, Strawen, Marl and Griant, who are very fond of laughing. Retired, they pass their days by the fireplace under the care of their trusty handmaid, Millibeth. Strawen is the only one of the trio who talks to the player. She offers some advice and is able to reallocate attribute points when given a soul vessel. The brown-haired muse Charnalot, also known as Emerald Herald, is a pilgrim in green, a failed experiment whose intended purpose was to break the undead curse by combining Archdragon's immunity to Halloween with human physical features. She looks for an undead capable of breaking the shackles of the fate thrown upon her by her creators. So she draws the player to Draenlink, the land in which the game takes place, and aids him or her by turning collected souls into attribute points, and by giving the beloved healing flask and improving it with shards. She also guides the player by providing information on where to go and what to do. Her pilgrimage progresses as the player advances the game. Whatever final choice the player makes, she will be content, for her journey will be complete. Amana Priestess is an enemy whose original name is Amana no Miko, which means Shrine Maiden of the Mana. These maidens performed sacred rituals in order to contain a demon. Sadly, over time, the tradition was lost and the demon set free, and now said corrupted maidens shoot the player to death by casting homing soul arrows. In 2015, Bloodborne was launched, but with or without maidens. In the bleak, gothic city of Yharnam, the player may face bell-ringing women who summon enemies. Such spectral dames are called Chime Maidens. They are not the kind of maidens you were expecting, right? At the Hunter's Dream, the game's hub, there is a doll dressed in 19th century clothes. The plain doll, more exactly, created by the old hunter Gehrman and modeled on his dead apprentice. That doll becomes animate once the player has gained one insight amount of acquired inhuman knowledge. Then our gothic Barbie doll can be interacted with. She will even gesture back at the player. She plays the role of the typical Souls Maiden here, as she empowers the player by allowing him or her to level up the stats. She is always friendly and prays for the player to the very end.
Farewell, good hunter.
In 2016, Dark Souls 3 came out with at least two maidens. A fair white grey-haired maiden, deprived of eyesight to better serve as vessel for souls, in a special black robe, manchettes and skirt that are given only for those who cherish the writhing, searing darkness. She looks after the bonfire in the hub of the game and allows the player to level up in exchange for souls and to cure a certain curse in exchange for a firekeeper's soul. Even though she is blind, she reacts to gestures the player makes. This most considerate woman has a past unknown to all. She is practically immortal and very powerful. Although she has beautiful hidden eyes, the player can give her a pair of dark ones, which causes her strange visions of a betrayal, of a world without fire, and indeed, that may happen if the player chooses so. Either way, she supports whatever choice made, even the most detrimental one towards her, as she foresees the return of the fire she is supposed to preserve. From Cairhien, the land of clergymen, a frail hooded maiden in soft formal white attire sent on pilgrimage to become a firekeeper, finds herself locked up in a cell by a knight sworn to protect her. This is Irina, who apparently is too weak and lacking to achieve her goal. She cannot handle the darkness within nor the one around her. Thus, it seems that her captivity is for her own safety. She sells miracles, and the player can give her tomes found throughout the game to expand her inventory. Should the player give her dark tomes and buy dark miracles, her knight will turn hostile and she will turn to the dark side of the souls. However, if the player only buys miracles, not the dark ones, she will become a firekeeper eventually and will be able to level you up, for example. Don't be fooled by the handmaid located in the hub. This undead merchant looks like those retired firekeepers from Dark Souls 2. Same robes, same profile, same fondness for laughter. But the old hag is actually a grave robber and a pufferer who profits from death. Her inventory can be expanded by giving her a special ash scattered in the game. Her life is bound to the shrine where she inhabits. If killed, she will simply reappear there and increase the prices of the items she sells. Technically, Sekiro, released in 2019, is not a Souls game, and still some of the maiden archetype can be found here. Just to clarify, a female character doesn't need to be strictly a maiden to be here. I took account of women who help the player and have any of the Souls maiden characteristics, as well as anyone whose name contains the words maiden or maid. Emma, this Eastern flower, was adopted by Lord Dorgan, a doctor of genius. There she came to be a skilled doctor herself. Moreover, she is a brilliant swordswoman known as the Gentle Blade. Emma acts as a secret agent of the founder of the Ashina clan for the purpose of overthrowing its current leader by persuading an immortal shinobi, the protagonist, to help them out and assisting him with knowledge and mainly with the healing gourd, which relates to the healing flasks from the Souls games. Emma upgrades the gourd with 9 special seeds the player finds throughout the game. That certainly reminds us of the Souls Maidens. Depending on the player's choices, Emma will get in the way as a boss. The Divine Child of Rejuvenation is the only survivor of the Sample Monk's experiments that aimed for eternal life. She is immortal and guards the Mortal Blade, a sword capable of slaying the undying and the living who dares to draw it. She presents the player with healing rice, plus she is the key to achieve the true ending of this game, in which she sets out on a journey to the west. As for the handmaidens, they are all creepy frail old women. Most of them are enemies, like the old maids who alert nearby foes. Few are friendly, for example, the tragic timid maid, the sorrowful old palace maids, and the Shura storyteller, the predictive maid. In 2022, Elden Ring took the gaming world by storm with maidens galore. In this game, they are finger maidens. They serve strange creatures known, for obvious reasons, as Two Fingers, which are envoys of a mysterious entity named Greater Will that shaped the world at will till the breaking of the Elden Ring. Finger maidens must find their chosen tarnished. People who lost the Greater Will's grace and were banished in the past, but now were brought back to life and beckoned by lost grace after the shattering. And such maidens must offer guidance and assistance to their tarnished. 2 unnamed finger maidens are found dead. It seems they didn't find their tarnished, they found, instead, their demise. Melina is an enigmatic spectral lass and light yet sturdy Clovis, with leather pieces and green cloak, who finds the maidless player and offers an accord. If the player takes her to the Earth Tree, the embodiment of the Greater Will, for her to remember her purpose, she will play the role of Finger Maiden. Therefore, she will turn rune fragments into his strength, leveling up the player as a result. She aids the player in other ways too. She will tell the player pieces of lore, she will give the player a spectral steed named Torrent. She will take the player to the hub of the game, Round Table Hold, and even be available to help in a boss fight. As a matter of fact, it is impossible to finish the game without her, as some areas can only be accessed with her help. So even though she says she is no maiden, she ends up as a Souls Maiden, because she fits the archetype in so many ways. Having arrived at the Earth Tree just to find its entrance blocked, Melina reminds her purpose. She must go to the Forge of the Giants to get a Flame of Ruin. There, she starts acting of her own accord. She makes the player sleep and starts the kindling. This girl is on fire. She sacrifices herself to channel the power of the Flame of Ruin in order to burn the Earth Tree, making its entrance accessible again. There is a way to spare her though. The player must embrace the Three Fingers, the envoy of the God of Chaos. However, doing so will make her mad and she will leave you and promise to hunt you down. Light Seeker Hayata is a blind blonde young woman in traveling attire who is on a journey to become a finger maiden. Curiously, she is identical to the deceased Irene of Morn and only appears after her death. She firmly believes that she can reach her goal by following the distant light that appears in the back of her eyes whenever she eats certain grapes, which are actually human eyeballs, but that fact doesn't deter her. After eating the eyeball of a mad knight, she manages to reach the source of the light that has been guiding her, the Three Fingers. She asks the player to sit and embrace the flame of chaos. Afterwards, she asks the player to touch her so that she finally becomes a finger maiden. I have the touch.
Oh, it burns. My eyes, they're melting.
As a finger maiden, Hayata can understand the words of the Three Fingers. She explains that the god of chaos seeks to melt everything born from the greater will's mistake away. No more births, no life, no suffering. All must be one again. Then her body is consumed by fire, and so she dies. In similar traveling attire, the silent finger maiden Therolina didn't find the tarnished she was supposed to guide. She ends up caught by a malicious wizard who turns her into a puppet. The player can acquire her spirit from him and summon her in battles. She uses healing incantations and holy water pots. A fair and blonde tarnished noble woman in a hooded cloak of vivid crimson and high-quality attire who set off on a journey to an unknown land with a retinue. This is Roderica. All of her companions found their demise. She is the only survivor. Should the player help her reach the hub, she will befriend a blacksmith and find her purpose. Spirit tuning. She can upgrade the player's spirits with special plants named Gloveworts. In the end, she chooses to stay with her new friend even in the face of certain death. Luna Princess Rani, the witch, schemer of the assassination of her own stepbrother. She discarded her own body and transferred her spirit into a blue doll that apparently was made based on the appearance of her mentor, the Snow Witch. Girls don't want only to have fun, they want, above all, freedom, and that's exactly what this highborn maiden seeks, to be free from the shackles of the destiny imposed by the greater will. She gives a special bell to the player that allows the summoning of spirits. The player can assist her in reaching her goal, and in doing so, Rani will not be a maiden anymore. As for hostile maidens, there are enemies called Night Maidens, dagger wielders in armor with monastic and silky pieces, who are the highest clerical order of the underground people known as the Nox. They were banished from the surface by the Greater Will. Did you know that the original name of this enemy is Hitosarai no Otome Ningyo, which means people abductor maiden-law, so its name in English could well be abductor maiden. As for handmaidens, twin maiden husks serve as a strange mute merchant whose inventory is expanded by giving them bell rings. Enya looks like the husk of a finger maiden. She is actually a finger reader. She reads the player's fingers and also interprets the two fingers. Enya is a special merchant who sells armor sets, weapons, and incantations from bosses once they are defeated and their remembrances taken to her. I could have talked about more maidens, but I already covered the main ones. Plus, this beautiful blonde woman who has had relations with several men is no maiden at all. Just kidding, or maybe not. Fear, deathbed companion, whose purpose is to drain some life force from champions and then lie with the corpses of distinguished nobles to grant them another chance at life. At the end of her quest, she lies with the remains of Godwyn, Ranni's stepbrother, now known as Prince of Death. She conceives, not a baby, but the maiden rune of the Death Prince, which can be used to restore the fractured Elden Ring, and to embed the principle of life within death into Greater Will's world order. In conclusion, we can classify the Soulsborne maidens under 3 main groups. Some can be put in more than one group: Shrine maidens, Traveling maidens, and Hostile maidens. Demon Souls surely provided the foundations for Souls maidens. By the way, blindness is a recurring theme, as well as suffering and terrible deaths. Souls maidens represent the dark beauty of Miyazaki's games that attracts us so much. They are mysterious, puzzles to be solved. They face the adversities of the world and carry the weight of their decisions and misfortunes on their bodies. And most of them are essential helping hands in these challenging games. Lights and darkness. Don't you agree? What is your favorite Souls maiden? Let me know. Check out my other Souls videos, like, share and subscribe for more. Farewell, Souls Craving companions.